If you're learning to forehand, it all starts with the forehand approach. And you're probably wondering, what dish should I use? Well, for most forehand approach shots, you typically want to stay within the speed of 4 or lower, because approaching is all about control. The higher the speed, the less control you're going to get. So try and stay 4 and under. You've probably also heard that overstable discs handle the torque of forehands a lot better because of that snap, which is true. However, if you're new to forehanding, you should probably pick up something that's more stable to understable, like an Innova Mako 3 or a Discraft Buzz, because they're going to be easier to control and thus easier to learn how to forehand. Although they aren't typically used by skilled forehanders since they are just less predictable, it's the best way for someone new to start. It just gives you a better understanding on how to perfect the technique and get better control. The second thing we want to mention is don't be afraid to try out a bunch of discs as well as a bunch of different release angles. Taking a disc and forehanding on different angles, hyzer, anhyzer, as well as with different discs is going to give you a better understanding in the long run on what works best for you. Not to mention, you'll just gain a quicker understanding of disc flight, the flight numbers, and what you need in the long run. So give it a shot. Don't be afraid to test out different release angles and different approach discs. The third thing we want to mention is to avoid reaching back, or in other words, avoid relying on your arm to get the power. So if you're constantly thinking about where your arm is positioned and how much power you need to put into it with your arm instead of using your body as one cohesive unit, you're not going to release the disc that consistently and you're not always going to get good snap. Whether backhanding, forehanding, or even swinging a golf club, it really all has to do with charging up that energy, charging up that core, and then timing everything at the hit point to then propel the disc forward. The fourth thing we want to mention is the importance of following through, especially when trying to attain farther distances with standstill forehands. By following through, it not only creates more consistent, powerful forehand approaches, but it also helps reduce any strain put on your body because you're not halting your body right after releasing the disc. One way to do this is to literally step forward after your throw, or at least feel like you are stepping forward after your throw. This is going to ensure you don't cause any strain to your body, but also it's really going to help shift that weight into your front hip so that when you hit that hit point, you're going to get that much more power. It's just something we highly recommend, and it really helps train the mind on how your weight should be shifting from back to front. It's also totally okay to do a small walk up or step up when doing a forehand approach because it really helps engage your core and keep things fluid, especially when you're trying to attain farther distances. But of course, if you can stand still while still retaining some power, you're going to get better control and accuracy overall. The fifth and final thing we want to mention is that for shorter distance approach shots, nose up releases is how you want to approach the basket. We often hear that nose up is a bad thing, and it definitely is, but mainly when it's off the tee, not when you're approaching. When approaching like 100 feet and in, having the disc slightly nose up is the way to go about it. And that's because it allows air to get trapped under the disc, slowing it down and providing better control of speed and accuracy. Of course, a flatter and more level throw will go farther if trying to approach for a greater distance.